So it's my honor to stand here today and introduce to you our Man of the Year, the PBA's Man of the Year, this state's Man of the Year, Governor Andrew Cuomo.
Well, thank you very much. Good afternoon to all of you. Welcome to Albany. First, let me warn you, what happens in Albany does not stay in Albany. So be very, very careful. First to PBA Pat Lynch, who just listening to him speak, listen to the power and the authenticity in his voice. The PBA speaks for the patrolmen, the police officers, the women who serve as police officers, and Pat Lynch is that voice. That strength, that courage, that determination speaks for every police officer in the NYPD. Let's give him a round of applause. To John Puglisi and AJ and Robert Zink and Commissioner Bratton and John Lynch, pleasure to be with you. Let's give them a round of applause. First, on a personal level, I want to thank all of you because you have been very, very good to me. Politically, you endorsed me in every race that I ran. When I first ran for AG, and I was a long shot, you endorsed me. Pat wanted odds on that race. I gave it to him, but you endorsed me nonetheless. You've been with me politically ever since, and governmentally, you've been with me. And we have done great work governmentally, helping the NYPD, which helps the city and helps the state and has helped make this city and this state safer. So I'm excited about our partnership. I'm excited about what we've done together. And I'm more excited about what the future holds for all of us. First, I just want to communicate the respect and the admiration that I have for the job that you do. You know, when you think about it, it's remarkable that the police department that is seen as the best in the globe is probably also the police department that has the toughest job in the toughest city on the globe. And it's a job that's not getting easier. It's a job that's getting harder. It's a job that's getting more complex. It's not just criminal law anymore. There are now diseases, Ebola, Legionnaire's disease, this terrorism, cybersecurity. I was in Israel, NYPD in Israel. I was in Afghanistan, NYPD in Afghanistan. It's gotten so complex and so hard. And New York City is still, by definition, the focus. And your job is to keep it safe, and to keep it safe at a time when there are more stresses and more opposition. You have more aggressive protests, there's more hostility, and the NYPD has been extraordinary in its response. I remember the end of last year when you had the protests, especially on the west side of Manhattan, and the aggressiveness by the protesters, and the provocation by the protesters, and the discipline of the NYPD that stood there, that took it, not a one reacting to the provocation, which is remarkable when you think about it. We speak about how you save lives, and how even more than saving lives, you have saved the city of New York. And that is not an overstatement. This is a different city than it was 20, 30 years ago. I am old enough to remember 57 years old. One of the reasons the city is doing so well economically is why? It's safe, it's clean, it brings tourism, it brings businesses. You can go out to a restaurant at night. And I remember when that was not true. I'm still oriented towards the way that it's not true. One of my daughters called me, woke me up one night this summer. It was about 12:30. She said, I'm getting on the subway. I said, 12:30, getting on the subway? You can't. You know, 12:30 for me. Nobody got on the subway at 12:30 at night. If you did, you had a group of friends, and 3 of them were very big. You know, it didn't happen. And she said, you know, calm down, Dad. Everyone gets on the subway. And I started out, I was building housing in the 7-5 precinct in Brooklyn. 7-5 precinct had more murders per year than the entire city of Boston at that time. The city was out of control. So when we say you saved the city, you did. And the success of the city now, the economic success of the city, is predicated on what you've done and where you've brought the city and how you did it. Because you did it by remembering the simple, irrefutable rule, which is the law is the law. And no politics, no fear, no interpretation, no excuses. You enforce the law. And the law winds up being what keeps security, what keeps safety, and what protects everybody's rights. Yes, we love to relish our rights. We have civil rights and First Amendment rights, and we can express ourselves and display ourselves. But what keeps the individual's right is your enforcement of the law, which winds up protecting everyone's right. And you did it because you understand that policing is a two-way street. And the relationship between the police and the community is a door that swings both ways. And it's built on trust, and it's built on respect, and that trust and that respect is mutual, and it goes both ways. I recognize my responsibility as an elected official to not only work with you, but to support you in what you do. And I am cognizant of that every day. The support for the NYPD, support for the state police, support for the police organizations around this state is at the top of my agenda. You need the equipment that you need. You need this government to do what it needs to do to get the plague of illegal guns under control and guns in the hands of mentally ill people under control. You deserve to be paid for the job that you do. And I have said before, and I will say again, it is unconscionable that the NYPD would have lower pension benefits for its personnel than the other police departments in the city of New York. That makes no sense. It is unfair. You work hard as any police department, in more dangerous conditions. And that law has to be changed because it's purely unfair. And let me leave you with this. It's not just what you do, but it's really who you are at the end of the day. Because the job is self-selecting. Not everyone can be in the NYPD. Not everyone can cut it, frankly. Not everyone can stay in the job. You have to be a special type of person. I grew up in Queens, like Patty, except Patty was on the good side of Queens. I want to be politically correct, but he was up on the north side of Queens. You know, the side of Queens, Friday afternoons in the bar, they drank white wine spritzers. That's the kind of town they was in. But I grew up in Queens, and the family next door was an NYPD officer. His name is Pete. a good friend of my father, and one of my father's really best friends, and they lived right next door, and I was friends with Pete's son. And the families were very, very close. Pete was in the 9th Precinct in Manhattan, and he had that very colorful logo with the outhouse that he called something else at the time, which got me very excited as a young kid to hear graphic language. And Pete was a superhero. He would tell stories. At that time, the Hells Angels was a big presence in the Lower East Side. And he would tell me and his son stories about the Hells Angels and the encounters that they had. But I also remember his wife coming over night after night to sit with my mother in the kitchen and drink coffee because she hadn't heard from Pete, and she was nervous, and she knew that he was in a dangerous part of town. I also remember his son, who was my friend, anxious because he wasn't sure that his father was safe, and his father had been overheard on the phone having some conversations that made them nervous. The sacrifice of the family, as Patty was talking about, was extraordinary. And it wasn't just once in a while. It was every day. It was every day that he walked out the door. Every day that he was a half an hour late coming home. Every day that he didn't make that phone call. Right away, the fear came up. Right away, the anxiety came up. And they all paid that price. And he knew that his family was making that sacrifice. So it is a job that's self-selecting. And it is a statement of character that is unparalleled. 9/11 was the most powerful metaphor. But what you do every day is you run into the face of danger when every instinct in your body says run the other way. It says protect yourself, preserve yourself, the whole human condition. Crowds running the other way, and your mind says, no, my duty, my obligation is to go forward. How many people in life have that strength to do that? Have that belief system, that courage that says, I took an oath. This is my duty. This is my mission. I believe in public service. I believe in protecting others. And I'll sacrifice my family. I'll sacrifice myself to do it. God bless, what a beautiful testament to who you are as a person. I believed Pete the cop was a superhero because he was a superhero. Because it is incredibly difficult to do what you do. And I will support you every step of the way. You don't honor me today. I honor you. Because as complicated as life gets is as simple as it gets. You have always stood with me. And I will always stand with you. And I have the highest respect and admiration for what you have done for the city of New York, what you have done for the state of New York, and what you do every day when you walk out that door. Thank you, and God bless you.